Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to me performing the nearly impossible task of ranking every single fantasy series that I have ever read. So I have my series tracker on Notion, so I can keep track of all the series that I have fully completed, the series that I've read, every single book that is currently out. There's still more to be published. Series are incomplete, which means I have not read all of the books that are out, and then series I will not be finishing. So there's 4 different statuses for that. I am pretty nervous to talk about this list because opinions do change depending on the day. So right now this is where the rankings sit, and I'm pretty happy with it. I've sat on them for a couple days now, and I've kind of rearranged some things. I feel like this list is pretty set in stone. So I feel confident in it, but I am nervous on some of the ones that are a little bit lower. But before we get started, I do want to give a little disclaimer. Like I said, I am kind of nervous to share the list, but there is no series on here that I actually dislike. If I dislike a series, I just won't read it, which is in the not continuing category, and those are not in the rankings. In my rankings, I did not include series that I haven't read most of the books in the series, and then I also didn't include series that only has 1 book out currently for obvious reasons, and then the series I will not be continuing are also not included. So to give a debrief of the series that are not included in the ranking but are in those 3 categories I just talked about. For not continuing, we have Prince of Sin, Covenant, and Kingdom of the Wicked. For the series that are incomplete, where I've only read 1 or 2 books out of them, we have The Bridge Kingdom. I've read 2 out of the 5 books. Saga of the Unfated, I've read 1 out of the 2 books in the duology. Renegades, I've read 1 out of 4. Lightlark, I've read 2 out of 3. Six of Crows, I've read 1 out of the duology, and then The Poppy War, I've read 2 out of the trilogy. So those are not included in the ranking because it just wouldn't be fair to rank them. But that brings us to the 21 series I will be ranking. So we'll obviously be going from the bottom to the top, from number 21 to number 1. So yet another disclaimer, all of these series, I do like them. The one on the bottom doesn't mean I hated them. So don't get upset if some of your favorite series are towards the bottom. It's just whenever I'm comparing them to other series, they just rank lower. Like the bottom series I have on here, I feel like will shock a lot of people because it is a book talk favorite, social media favorite. It is a very, very popular YA fantasy, and I just personally did not love it. It's like a 3-star series for me. Again, that isn't bad. If I don't like a series, I just won't continue reading it. So with that being said, number 21 is Caraval. This one will definitely hurt a lot of people, I feel, and I'm sorry. I know it's really hard seeing like your favorite series ranked low. I don't know. I honestly don't have too much to say about the series. Besides, it's just overall like a 3-star series. I definitely recommend it. It's not that I hated it. I just definitely did not like it all too much, because a 3-star is like my baseline recommendation. If I think a series is going to be anything below a 3-star, once again, I'm just not going to read it. That being said, Caraval is at the bottom, but it just does not compare to any of the series above it. And then coming in 20th place, we have The Folk of the Air, which is Cruel Prince. I honestly really did like this one. I had such a fun time. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did, but again, other books and other series just stand out a lot more than that one series. I recommend literally every single one of these series I will be talking about. This one, again, like Caraval, doesn't really stand out. I definitely do like it a lot more than Caraval, which is crazy that they're really close to each other. The next 4 rankings are a little difficult because they are all duologies, which is crazy. I do love a good duology. Personally, the more books, the better. Next 4 are kind of interchangeable because they are all duologies. This is kind of hard for me to rank. I'm not gonna lie, this is probably the hardest part. Coming in 19th, we have Dance of Thieves. I really love this duology. I think in comparison to the other 3 duologies I'm gonna talk about, I think it does come at the bottom. This is so difficult. It's really hard to justify the lower ranking series rather than series that are in my like top 10, just because I did really love them. So putting them next to a high teen number is really difficult for me. I'll speed through the next 3 rankings because they're all duologies. Coming in 18th, we have Letters of Enchantment, which is the Divine Rivals duology. Yeah, this is in 18th place because I rated Ruthless Vows 5 stars. Yeah, I don't think it's like a true 5 stars, probably like a 4.5 now. You know, whenever you're on the high of just finishing a book, you're like, yeah, this was a 5-star because you had a great time while reading it. And then you kind of sit back on it. Maybe I was a little bit too hasty with that. That's how I feel about Ruthless Vows. I really like it, but I definitely don't think it's a 5-star. And then in 17th place, we have the Crimson Moth duology. Again, really, really love those books. And then coming in 16th, we have the Shepherd King duology. This is the #1 duology, in my opinion. I loved the gothic vibes of everything. I just really, really love Rachel Gillig's writing and just the way that she storytells. I don't know, I really love that duology. It's obviously my favorite duology out of any of them. And then coming in 15th place, we have the House of Devils series. The most recent book just came out last week, I think, and I really really need to pick it up. They're all on Kindle Unlimited, which is honestly why I kind of really love them. Just love reading fantasies on my Kindle. It is ranked 15th because it took me till the third book to finally get into it. Book one, we kind of just lost the plot a little bit, and I did like it, but I don't know, I just didn't really feel for any of our characters. Same with the second book. The second book, the plot definitely got more interesting in the second half, and the third book I really, really liked. So I am excited to get into the fourth book. I do have a connection to the characters and the story, and I'm very interested to see where the story is going. And then coming in 14th, we have Once Upon a Broken Heart. This one is also a TikTok favorite, a social media favorite, and with good reason. It is just such a perfect trilogy, feel good fairy tale fantasy. I definitely do recommend it as a very solid YA fantasy. And this may be an unpopular opinion, but I did really love the third book in the series. The second book is still my favorite, but I still did really like the third book. I feel like a lot of people didn't. I really liked it. And then coming in 13th, we have the Crowns of Nyaxia series, my first vampire fantasy slash romantasy, I guess. And there was also a Trials in the first book. So I did really, really love the first book. And then I also really liked the Six Scorched Roses, which is the first novella in the series. That novella is my favorite novella that I've ever read. It is literally so good. I did really like Serpent, and then I really liked Six Scorched Roses. And then Ashes of the Star-Cursed King, and what's the third book that she just came out with? I forgot what the third book was, but slowly the books have just been kind of declining for me a little bit. But I did really like the first book. The first book holds like a piece of nostalgia for me. So Crowns of Nyaxia is sitting at a very respectful 13th place. And then coming in 12th, we have Powerless. Obviously, Powerless is like an internet sensation. Sarah Caroli is in fact the reason why I started reading it. I'm pretty sure she read it in one of her "This video ends when I find a 5-star," I think. But watching that video and seeing her reaction of reading that book made me want to read it. I absolutely ate the series up. I did love it. I really did. It's just a fun time. It's not life-altering. It's not the most impactful series ever, but it is a bantery fun time. So I still do love the series. There has been a lot of, I don't want to say controversy, but like talk around this series. I don't know. It's not supposed to be the most life-changing thing. It's a fun YA romantasy series. I love Lauren Roberts, and I just find it so inspiring that she started writing this book when she was 18, right? And she's literally 22, 23. I'm 21. We're literally not that far apart in age. And I just find it really inspiring that she has continued this dream of hers, and it is her debut novels, and it is such an internet sensation. That's just incredible in my opinion. No, I just really loved Powerless. Again, don't go into it thinking that it's a life-altering fantasy series or anything like that, but it definitely is just a fun time. And coming in 11th, we have Crescent City. She's right there behind me. I honestly don't know how to explain this ranking because I quite honestly kind of forget about Crescent City a little bit. I do still love it because it is SJM. I love any crumb she gives us. Crescent City definitely had the potential to be a top series for me because I did really like the first book, and I did like the second book, and I liked the direction it was going kind of a little bit. And then the third book kind of made me a little scared for her next releases a little bit, but I also just don't really like any of her main characters. I've always found our FMC not necessarily insufferable. I don't want to call Bryce insufferable. Now, she was insufferable in the third book, but in the first two books she was like fine. Like, I did like her, but when we compare her to other SJM FMCs, not even other FMCs in other fantasy series, but just SJM's FMCs, she just really honestly does not compare. Sorry, like it was just really difficult going from reading, you know who I'm talking about, and reading Bryce. Like, it was really hard going from one to another. But after sitting on it for a little bit, I just don't like the direction that these series are going, and that goes with ACOTAR as well. Anyways, Crescent City's at 11th. Now we are in our top 10 fantasy series, and coming in 10th place, we have the Empyrean series, aka Fourth Wing. A lot of people don't know that it's called the Empyrean. The Fourth Wing series with Toothless, aka Taryn. Once again, this series had the potential to be ranked a little bit higher. I love the dragons in these books, but once again, the way that the series is going, I'm not too sure. New releases, I just don't think have been hitting for me recently. I did like Onyx Storm. Again, when I finished it, I rated it a 5-star. I really need to stop getting ahead of myself. I always do this. Recently, I have been trying a new approach where I don't rate a book until like a week or two after because I need to sit on it. It's so bad. But I did rate Onyx Storm 5 stars at first. I think it's like a 4-star. And I did obviously still really enjoy it. I have a connection to this world. I'm interested to see where the plot goes. Don't like the way that the politics and the fantasy elements have been implemented and written. I don't know. It's obviously still 10th place. It is in my top 10 favorite series. So I still do really love the series. I need to stop harping on the negatives of these series. I think this is the last series that I will be harping on negatives. Yeah, this is the last series where I have like anything besides positives to say, I guess you could say. Obviously loved Fourth Wing. The only reason why I'm justifying it is because it is a very, very hyped up series. Again, it's still 10th place, which is still really good. And then coming in 9th place, which is shocking that this comes above Fourth Wing. Does it come above Fourth Wing though? Coming in either 9th or 10th place, we have the Prison Healer trilogy. This series honestly just kind of opened my eyes to different fantasies, I guess you could say, because before this series I thought that I could only be super attached to the world and the characters if it was a high fantasy, if that makes sense, because I feel like high stakes just make you become attached to these characters. And although the Prison Healer does have high stakes, obviously if you've read it, it is not as high as a high fantasy. It is not a high fantasy at all. It's not super complex politics. The world is not that complex. The world building is like beautiful and simple and amazing. I think I really did just love the simplicity of it. There's also an adventure element where they're trying to search for these things. There's like the royalty, the palace, there's trials, there's a prison. There's so many elements to this series that I absolutely love. One thing about Lynette Noni is that she will get you with the plot twist. That's what kept me so intrigued with this series, was just how many twists and turns you went through. I genuinely did not anticipate any of the plot twists because she would throw them in mid-chapter, where you wouldn't expect. Like, I don't know, the series is just so good. I think my #1 sign when I really, really like a series is if I know that I can go in and reread it. Every single one of the series that I'll be listing from here on out, I can go in and reread it. Never mind, this is definitely in 9th place. I don't think this is in 10th place. I think the Empyrean is just below this. So my rankings were correct from the beginning. And then we have the Blood and Ash series. I have read all of the books that are currently out. We were supposed to get the next book in the series in July or June, I think. It ended up getting pushed back, which is honestly totally fine because I have so many other books I need to read. And I haven't read the prequel series to it yet. I really need to get to it, I do, but these books are a huge commitment. Not only are they really long, but they're also just really intense a lot of the time, and there's a lot to take in and comprehend, and there's just a lot of world building and a lot of characters, a lot of political intrigue, and just a lot of stuff going on. I think that's what I liked about the Blood and Ash series so much, is just how complex everything is. It's a really intense romantasy, because the romance is definitely a main plot, but I feel like a lot of what romantasies nowadays are lacking, the actual world building and the actual just world that it's set in. I feel like so many romantasies have just been focusing only on the romance, and that's literally it. Just totally fine, but I feel like it makes it a little bit confusing for the fantasy aspect of it. Whereas Blood and Ash is most definitely a romantasy. Romance is definitely the prioritized point in the entire series, but the fantasy world that it builds is just so good, and I've been yearning for just that type of romantasy. Blood and Ash is definitely the standard that I set romantasies to, because again, we have the romance, which is the main point. It is 100% the main point, but the fantasy in it does not take a back burner at all. Now it is time to talk about the series that comes in 7th place. This one is honestly really shocking when we look at the rest of the lineup for my top 10, but coming in 7th place, we have Emily Wilds. Yeah, that's crazy, right? We have a cozy fantasy in my top 10. That's crazy to me. I finished the last book in the trilogy about 2 weeks ago, I think. It feels like the coziest of cozy fantasies. It just feels like a warm hug. That's the best way I can explain it. And my #1 sign that I really, really love a series is if I finish the last book and I go, yeah, I can reread that. Actually pick up the first book right now. Like, that is when I know I absolutely love a series, and that is exactly what this series felt like. It was just so just magical. I don't know, I just really, really loved it. I just love that series so much. I really do. In 6th place, we have the Kindred's Curse saga. I have been waiting a hot minute for the 4th book to come out, but there are currently 3 books out. Really, really love the series. It definitely has the potential of moving up possibly whenever we do get the 4th book, whenever that is. But Spark of the Everflame is the 1st book, and that book was like good. I wasn't super obsessed with it, but it was good. And then I read Glow of the Everflame, which was also good, but our FMC did kind of irritate me a lot in the 2nd book. And this may sound like a lot of negatives for the series that comes in 6th place, but the 3rd book, Heat of the Everflame, altered my brain chemistry. I don't know what it was about it. I really don't. It is a god tier book for me. It is a 6-star book for me. I really, really loved the third book. I honestly, again, don't know why, because our FMC is kind of insufferable, but like our side characters really carry the story. Our MMC also really carries the story. It just is such a magical fantasy world that it is set in, and it doesn't seem like a super magical fantasy world in the first 2 books. Third book really dives into the like different realms in the world, magic, the politics, just everything that I love about a fantasy, the third book holds. And I quite literally think about that book on a daily basis. I think about this one specific book. I absolutely love it. Like, this is honestly really hard because, quite honestly, 2nd through 6th place kind of hold a pretty equal standing for me. Like, they could move based on the day, honestly. But coming in 5th place, no shock to anybody, we have Red Rising. Yep. This is technically a sci-fi series, but I'm looping it in with everything because it is the only sci-fi books that I've ever read. So in my head, it's just fantasy. Red Rising is, again, the first sci-fi. It is a high sci-fi. It is actually the most intense books I have ever read, and I think will ever read. They're actually insane. They remind me so much of Star Wars, but specifically episodes 1 through 3 with Anakin. Like, that's what I think of in my head when I read Red Rising. Take that with a grain of salt, please. I am not a Star Wars buff. I grew up watching Star Wars, but I'm not like super into it. I do really like it. Again, I'm just not that into it. I'm not into the lore or anything like that. Like, I don't really know too much about Star Wars. But coming from someone who has watched it and does like it, I'm not obsessed with it, not in love with it, but I do really like Star Wars. That's what I was thinking of when I was reading Red Rising. And take it with a grain of salt. It definitely does not mean that it is like that. That's just what I was picturing in my head. Maybe just because it was a sci-fi, I don't know. Character arcs that exist in this series alone rates it a 5-star series. Like, if we take away the plot, if we take away everything from it, and we just focus on the character arcs, 5-star series. It is actually incredible. And then you add in the space element and the confusing sci-fi parts. It took me months to finish the series. I listened to all of them, which I definitely recommend. I don't know if I would have been able to get through this series if I was physically reading them. Again, it definitely dragged my brain a lot. Whenever the 7th book is announced, which is the last book in the series, I think Red God is going to be the last book in the series, but whenever that book is announced, we'll be starting my reread of Red Rising. I've been trying to get my dad to read them because I'm like, you would love them. You love Lord of the Rings, you love Star Wars, you love these high sci-fi fantasies. You would love Red Rising. It is so good. Then coming in 4th place, once again, no shock to anybody, she's right behind me right there, we have Ember in the Ashes. Guys, don't even get me started on the series. Don't even get me started. So I finished the series at the end of March, and I've been fighting off the urge to reread it since I finished the last book, and I think I just need to reread it. I'm sure you guys have heard me yap about Ember in the Ashes and go on and on about it, so I won't go too in depth about it. It is such a beautifully laid out fantasy. The way that everything is introduced is very easy to understand. That also doesn't take away from the complexity of the story. Our FMC Laya, soft FMC, I guess you could say, but she's also such a strong-willed FMC, which is personally probably my favorite trait that can be in a female main character in a book, is a strong will. It doesn't matter if she's a fighter or a badass or has a bunch of magical powers. Even if she doesn't have any of those, Laya's literally, she's just a human. So strong-willed, and I just, oh my god, I love her. And we also have these side characters where you feel really complex feelings for. I don't know, I will always love a complex side character. Oh my god. And then we have Elias. Yeah. I don't know why Elias is not talked about more. Is the standard for MMCs. He is so devoted to Laya. It is actually incredible the lengths that he will go to for her. The romance is definitely a side plot, okay? The little crumbs that you get of the romance, so beautiful. I think that's what I prefer in a fantasy. I love a fantasy with a side plot of romance. I think that's my favorite form of fantasy. Ember in the Ashes honestly just altered my brain chemistry. And then coming in 3rd place, we have ACOTAR. Hey girl, she's right behind me. I don't need to tell you what ACOTAR is. I know you know what ACOTAR is. I'm sure your grandma knows what ACOTAR is. It is the romantasy series, the series that got me into fantasy. So I don't only love this series because of obviously the series as a whole, the plot, the storyline, the romance, everything about it. That's not the only reason why I love it. I also love it because it will just always hold a special piece in my heart because it got me into all of this. Literally, if I hadn't picked up that first book, I would not have any of these books. I probably wouldn't even have this YouTube channel. Before I'd read ACOTAR, I had read some Colleen Hoover books, a couple romance books here and there, and I was getting more into reading because I used to read when I was younger. So I did start off with Colleen Hoover. I did start off with all of that. And then I saw ACOTAR. It came up on, it was like my first ever like book talk thing that I had ever gotten. And I bought the first book. It was sitting on my shelf for like months. And then I randomly decided I'm gonna read this book. Once again, if I hadn't done that, we would not have any of this. So like I said, ACOTAR just holds a special place in my heart. That is the reason why it's in third place. I don't know how I feel about the direction that it's going. I really liked Silver Flames and I love Nesta, okay? Argue with the Wall, okay? I love Nesta. But I don't know how I feel, like I talked about Crescent City. I don't know how I feel about SJM's new releases. This series feels so different. I know she wrote them a long time ago. She wrote them when she was a teenager. Well, she wrote the first book when she was, what, 16 I think it was? I know that the series is older, but even with the first 3 books in ACOTAR, because that was supposed to be the original trilogy, the first 3 books in ACOTAR feel like an entirely different author from Silver Flames and then Crescent City. Throne of Glass and the first 3 books in ACOTAR feel totally separate from her writing now. I don't know, so I'm intrigued to see what the next book of ACOTAR is, but I'm also a wee bit nervous for it. We also did get some crumbs for it, which I am excited, but after this book right here, I just don't know how I feel about the next books in ACOTAR. I don't know, but I still love ACOTAR. It will, again, hold a very special place in my heart for, like, ever. Always. And then coming in at second place, we have the War of Lost Hearts trilogy. She is right here behind me. This series gave me such a similar feeling to how I had felt when I had read my #1 series. I don't know why I'm gatekeeping it because you guys know what my #1 series is. I personally feel like this series does not get enough hype, if any hype. I don't think Carissa Broadbent gets the hype that she deserves. I rated Crowns of Nyaxia 13th, which isn't bad at all. But I did rate Crowns of Nyaxia 13th and this is #2, but her writing is just exquisite. It is beautiful. I really just think that this series does not get enough credit, and a lot of people were saying that it was like a cozy fantasy. That's not true. That's not true at all. There's a element in the second book where they're kind of trying to figure things out a little bit, where maybe it feels like a cozy fantasy a little bit because there's like an adventure kind of aspect. It ain't cozy, I'll tell you that much. Like, it is very intense at sometimes. Since I had read this series, that has always been #2. It hasn't changed in ranking whatsoever since I had read it. I just really think it deserves the same amount of hype as ACOTAR. The romance is so beautiful and so intimate, I guess you could say. I don't know, I just really love those books and I really, again, want to reread it soon. I've been wanting to reread my favorite series recently, which brings me to my #1 spot, which is no surprise to anybody, especially since it's been staring at you this entire video. Which first place goes to Throne of Glass. I don't think anything will ever top it. Honestly, it holds a very similar sentimental value as ACOTAR does. It's a little bit more sentimental to me, as I had already talked about, but Throne of Glass opened my eyes to not just romantasy but also fantasy. Falling in love with a FMC because I really liked Feyre, I really like Nesta. They are not the female main characters in this book. There are just so many badass women in this book. Selena, Aelin, Manon, Alide, the 13, Sandra, oh my god. Like, the women in this book are just so strong-willed, like I had talked about earlier. That is my favorite trait in FMCs. And all of them are so strong-willed and I absolutely adore them. And our MMCs, obviously can't forget them. At first, the different chapter point of views we get after Crown of Midnight, didn't like. I was not on board with it. I just could not care less about quite literally any other point of view except for 2. There were only 2 point of views I actually liked and that was it. When I tell you, you grow to love these characters so much. And I know it's a super intimidating series. I know a lot of people don't want to get into it because she's really long. I'm telling you, it will in fact change the way that you read. And that sounds so dramatic, it really does. But I read this 2 years ago and I literally have not gone a day where I don't think about it. Single day. There is not a single fantasy book that I read where this is not in the back of my mind. That sounds so awful and so unfair to other fantasy books. I am in the middle of rereading it actually. I kind of want to do a reading vlog when I get to Kingdom of Ash. Oh my god, I'm not prepared to get to that book. Let's touch on the reading order real quick. The reading order is very much a topic of discussion whenever it comes to Throne of Glass. If you don't know, there is a prequel called Assassin's Blade, and it is exactly what I said, it's a prequel. It takes place before Throne of Glass. It is written after Crown of Midnight, and when I had read Throne of Glass 2 years ago. So many videos had recommended reading Assassin's Blade after Heir of Fire. And when I tell you, do any other reading order except reading it after Heir of Fire. Read it first or read it third. It doesn't matter, honestly. Just do not read it after Heir of Fire. I almost DNF'd it because I was so not interested in what was happening. I personally, if you want the best reading experience, think that you should read it after Crown of Midnight. Read it third. You go Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Assassin's Blade, and then go into Heir of Fire, yada, yada, yada. If you don't want to overcomplicate things, just read Assassin's Blade first. The most impactful reading order is reading it third, but I also think reading it first is a great choice as well. I feel like the reading order has gotten very, very overcomplicated. A lot of people feel very passionately about it, which I totally understand, but I also think complicating the reading order makes it more intimidating for people who haven't read it already. Personally, either of those is fine. Perfectly fine. One thing I will say, which this does complicate it a little bit, I personally recommend tandem reading Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. If you don't know, we have Empire of Storms and then Tower of Dawn. These two take place at the same time, but they follow different characters. Characters are split up at the end of Queen of Shadows. Tower of Dawn and Empire of Storms take place at the same exact time, but they are just following completely different characters. Tandem read makes it so you're following the same exact timeline. So you'll read a few chapters of Empire of Storms, and then you'll switch to Tower of Dawn. There's templates online and everything like that. But the reason why I recommend tandem reading is because at the end of Empire of Storms, there is a huge cliffhanger. I am telling you, you won't want to go into Tower of Dawn. A lot of people also don't necessarily like the POV that Tower of Dawn follows. I personally still really like Tower of Dawn. I know a lot of people find it really hard to get through Tower of Dawn for reading Empire of Storms. With all that being said, I personally recommend the tandem read. Totally up to you to do whatever you want. I just very much advise you to. It's also kind of fun carrying around these two giant books with you and like switching back and forth. Saying this very much on the down low, okay? There are PDFs you can find online where if you have a Kindle, includes the tandem read. Everything in order in the tandem read order, and it's on your Kindle so you don't have to switch. I didn't tell you that though, okay? Anyways, Throne of Glass, absolute favorite series. It is just absolutely phenomenal. It will literally change your life. I mean that in the most dramatic way possible. We are finally done with the rankings of my fantasy series. I say finally because I've been talking for 2 hours straight. If you guys enjoyed today's video, this was honestly a lot of fun just yapping about all of the fantasy series I've read and yapping about all of my favorite series that I've read. I hope you guys got some recs out of this. Please let me know your thoughts on these series. I love chit-chatting about different opinions, similar opinions. I don't care what it is. I just love talking about these books. And also comment any recommendations you guys have if your favorite series was not listed in any of this. I'm constantly looking for new fantasy series. As the end of today's video, I'm going to drink some water because throat is really dry. I've been talking for so long. If you guys enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next one. Bye.